All right, let's get started. We're going to be editing a photo with Photoshop Elements 13. These same tactics should work for any version of Photoshop Elements. They should also work for GIMP or Pixlr. So to get started, I want to point out we're going to be editing this bracelet, and you can see the background is mostly white. I did take this with some bright lighting and a white poster board in my studio. So we are going to, first of all, go up to our menu at the top. We are going to click on Enhance, Adjust Lighting, and Levels. Now once you get the Levels dialog box up, you'll see that there are 3 droppers here. The one that we are focused on is the Set White Point. You're just going to click on that, and then you will click anywhere on your background, and it's going to decide that that is the most white section of your image, and it will make everything else change to adjust for that setting. So if I click up here, you can see it definitely makes a difference. So as I'm clicking around the screen, you can see the image is adjusting slightly, okay? One thing that I will do with some products is I will click on the shadow to make the background as white as possible. But on this image, you can see this chain gets completely washed out if I do that. So I would not suggest doing that for this particular image. Same thing happens if I click anywhere on the bottom of the screen, because the bottom of the screen is a little bit darker than the top. So I'm probably going to pick somewhere in the middle, like maybe here, to set my white point. Then I'm going to hit OK. That's going to accept your white point. I'm going to save my image at this point. I find that you're just better off saving as you go. That way you don't have to worry about losing what you've done. Okay, so we're saved our image. Now we're going to go to the next part of the editing. So there's this tool over here called the Dodge tool. Any of these could show up there, so it may not look like that. What we want is the Dodge tool, which is this little, I don't know, black ball on a stick. It lightens things up. If you use the Burn tool, it's going to darken things up. And if you use the Sponge tool, it's going to take out some of the color. So if you find that your photo is looking incredibly yellow, even after you use the Set White Point, you can use this desaturation sponge. Right now we're using the Dodge tool. And I have it set on highlights because I want it to make things lighter. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to start here at the bottom. I'm going to drag across, and you can see it definitely lightened up that area there. I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to go across one time, and then unclick, because if you just drag it around a whole bunch, it can actually make your computer crash, which is actually what has happened several times while I've been making this video. So we're going to try to avoid that this time. So I suggest just short little spurts of using the tool. But you can see that through these little spurts where I'm clicking and dragging, it is definitely eliminating some of these shadows and lightening up the screen. All right, so I feel pretty good about that. It looks like we've managed to eliminate most of those shadows. We've lightened up the entire screen. Now, I still feel that this is a little bit washed out, so I am going to show you how to use this Burn tool. Now, I have this set to a much smaller diameter, you can see here, but do you see how it made it just a little bit darker? So that is making that chain pop out a little bit more again, even though in the process of lightening things up, we made it maybe a little bit too light. So that's one option you can always do. If you have stuff that's like silver, like what I have here, since we're doing jewelry, sometimes that silver will get a little bit of a yellowish tint. You can even use the sponge tool to try and take some of that yellow out. All right, so now we are going to crop this photo. It is already square, but regardless of whether or not your photo is square, the same cropping will work for you. On this side of the screen here, you can see this is the crop button, and then down here you can change your settings. So right now it's set to use photo ratio, which is a square. So you can see these numbers down at the bottom are the same, but you can also click here and change this to something else. So like a 5 by 5 inch would be a square as well, but I'm going to go ahead and click off of that. And I like doing 1000 by 1000. You could adjust this to be whatever you want. As long as these two numbers are the same, you'll be making a square. The resolution, since we are using this online, should really be set to 72 pixels per inch. So we're going to change that. And then we are just going to drag on our photo. And then you can adjust these with the little corners here. Now I do want you to notice something as I'm dragging. Do you see the size, the pixels listed there? It's much more than 1000 by 1000. So this is 2142 pixels. So once you click that check mark button and save the size of your image, it will reduce it to 1000 by 1000. So we're just going to take that, we're going to make sure we like where it's at, then you click this little green check mark. And it will take it just a moment. And you can see the size of the picture went down. That's because, as I said, we reduced it to 1000 by 1000 pixels. If you hit Command or Control and the plus sign, you can make that bigger very easily. I have a Mac, so this would be Command, but on a PC it would be Control. And there you go. Thanks for joining me for Photoshop Friday. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, and sign up for notifications so that you can receive more targeted teaching for your e-commerce shop in 7 minutes or less.